Welcome in to One of One Sports, the only one for your original sports takes, commentary, analysis, and of course, predictions. Today we are doing our final individual college football team preview with today's team, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Let's get into it. Before we get started with today's video, I have to ask you guys to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers before the start of college football season. There's not a lot of time left, so I need your guys' help to get there. Now, without further ado, let's get started. So last season, Notre Dame went 11-1 in the regular season, with their only loss being a true shocker to Northern Illinois, 16-14. And then they ended up going 14-2 after making the playoff, winning 3 playoff games and losing in the national championship game. So they were the runner-ups to Ohio State. One of the most successful seasons for Notre Dame in a long time. Will they be able to have that level of success again? Live up to the 2024 team in 2025? Let's find out. So the biggest losses from last year's team on the offensive side of the ball, you got to start with quarterback Riley Leonard. Now, he wasn't a dynamic passer, but he did a lot with his legs, and he just had a lot of guts and made big plays when the Irish needed for him. You also lose Bo Collins and Mitchell Evans from the passing game, your number 2 wide receiver and your top tight end. Defensively, you lose Jack Kaiser, leading tackler, Xavier Watts, All-American safety, and then 2 standout defensive linemen in Riley Mills and Howard Cross, who were banged up at times last year, but when they played were 2 of the strongest members of the defense. You do return a lot, though. Starting with Jeremiah Love, a lot of people, including myself, think he's probably the best running back in all of college football. And alongside him, running mate Jadarian Price, not a bad back at all. They form most likely the best running back tandem in all of college football, behind an O-line that mostly returns, probably led by their strongest member, Anthony Knapp, after a true freshman All-American season. You also return top receiving options, Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison, who had sort of breakout games down the stretch, could improve even more. Defensively, Leonard Moore and Christian Gray make up probably the best corner duo in the country. And then Jalen Sneed, Bowen, Viliamu Asa make up a strong linebacker core. And then Burnham, Bryce Young, and Tuia Lamaka give you at least high-end potential in the pass rush game. You add a lot of players from the transfer portal and the number 12 recruiting class. The biggest transfer additions are wide receiver Malachi Fields from Virginia. He was their number 1 receiver. He's going to boost the passing game, you would think. And then Devontae Smith, safety, Alabama, could start and make a difference in the secondary that's already a really strong unit. Now, the last thing to mention before we get into the game-by-game prediction is the quarterback battle. Is it going to be CJ Carr? Is it going to be Kenny Minchey? Carr represents a guy a little bit higher recruited, probably a stronger arm, more overall talent, represents a higher upside. Kenny Minchey, from what the camp intel is saying, he's been more consistent in practice, but maybe doesn't have the ceiling of a guy like CJ Carr. Still a very tight race. There have been some reports that maybe Minchie's taken the lead. I still think CJ Carr is going to win the job, but it's definitely still up in the air. Getting into the strengths and weaknesses of Notre Dame this year, I think the run game's got to be a strength. We mentioned they have one of the best O-lines in the country, probably the best running back duo in the country. They're going to be great running the ball, you would think. And then the secondary looks really strong when you have Leonard Moore, Christian Gray, the best corner duo in the country. That's going to make it a strength. Quarterback, like you said, not even sure who the starter is, a bit of an unknown. Maybe they'll be really good. Maybe CJ Carr wins the job and he has this high ceiling he lives up to, or maybe Minchie wins it and he's just consistent, good quarterback play. But maybe the inexperience shows up. Maybe neither of these guys is ready to be, a quarterback at Notre Dame University. It's certainly a possibility. So it's a potential weakness. And then the interior D-line, the rest of the defense all looks strong, and I think the interior will be fine. But when you do lose guys like Riley Mills and Howard Cross, even though you had pieces in place to replace them, it's still a little bit of a concern. In the official game-by-game predictions, you start off with one of the biggest non-conference games of the season, top 10 matchup, according to the AP poll, against Miami on the road. And this is a really tough game. I think these teams are similar. Both have really strong offensive lines. I think are going to look to run the ball, breaking in new quarterbacks from last year. And overall, I think we'll look to play a similar style, lean on their defense, try not to make a mistake, at least in game one. Now, typically, Miami doesn't have the craziest home field advantage, but for a week 1 game this big against Notre Dame, I do think it's going to be a tough place to play. And even though Carson Beck's a new quarterback, he's a bit more experienced. than either, well, definitely more experience than either guy's Notre Dame's going to play. So I think at home, Miami's less likely to make the critical error that a guy like CJ Carr could make if he gets the start, or Minchie in, their first ever start for Notre Dame. And it's really like 51-49, really tough game to pick. I'm just barely leaning Miami. Then you get a super early bye week, typically not ideal, but coming off a loss before another really tough game against Texas A&M, it's not the worst thing. And now coming back home against another team that I think is going to look to rely on their O-line, strong running game, Marcel Reed, a good running quarterback. But this time at home, the environment is not as tough to play in. You've had a week off to prepare. I like this spot better for Notre Dame, and I think you get the win here before beating Purdue, who is going to be arguably the worst team in the Power Four. And then a road game against Arkansas is not going to be easy. It's not it's not an easy place to play. And Taylor Green is going to give them at least dynamic quarterback play, but he has been turnover prone. And this is a Notre Dame defense that even if they take a step back from last year, it's proven that they can capitalize on that sort of thing. And Arkansas, I just don't think has enough help outside of Taylor Green. He's going to try to do too much, probably make some mistakes. Notre Dame gets this one. And then a home game against Boise State, who again will contend to be the best team in, I guess, the group of six now. But losing Ashton Genty is a big blow. His team's not as good as last year's team, doesn't have the talent to match up with someone like Notre Dame. It's another win before taking on the NC State Wolfpack at home, who hope to have an improvement year with CJ Bailey leading the way. I don't see them going on the road to beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame, just across the board, like you're going to be better running the ball, better in line of scrimmage, better in the secondary. And at this point in the year, it should at least be comparable levels of quarterback play. Now, a really big game, your rival USC, you get them at home. And this does seem like a win for Notre Dame because, as much as I think USC can improve, physicality is still something that has proven to bother Lincoln Riley teams. And with how good I think Notre Dame will be up front on the line of scrimmage, running the ball, pounding it, I think this is the exact type of game that a USC team would struggle with. And I think Notre Dame gets the win here before their final bye week of the year. Off the bye, you go on the road to Boston College, who was a pretty good last team last year, and I don't know if it's going to be Dylan Lonergan at quarterback. It could be, but either way, I don't see the talent on this year's team to beat Notre Dame. Same with Navy. Navy was really good last year, still got crushed. Notre Dame, clear, just a giant talent gap here. On the road at Pitt is actually a sneaky tough game because Pitt, Desmond Reed and Eli Holstein make up a good quarterback running back duo. The defense should be pretty good. This is like, outside those first two games, there's an argument this road game against Pitt might be Notre Dame's toughest game on the schedule. And I think they push you to their limits. I was close to predicting a loss here. I think Notre Dame sneaks away with this one, but this is a sneaky trap game that I have like circled early already as like, watch out for Pitt in this spot. And then you beat Syracuse, who I don't think will be as good as they were under with Kyle McCord going. And then Stanford, another contender for worst Power 4 team potentially. And you rattle off 11 straight wins to end the year after the first loss to finish 11-1. Secures a repeat playoff performance for Notre Dame and a chance, to improve or at least live up to last year's success, making the college football playoff national championship. Let me know what you guys think and check out any other videos on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Until next time.